Hi, my name is Sydney Atkinson. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Maine. I'm majoring in political science and minoring in legal studies. I've always had an interest in Maine politics. I served in the Maine youth government while I was in high school and hope to run for Maine government in the future. So essentially this bill is going to convene a task force that will invite a group of experts to provide training to educational professionals and administrators in K through 12 so that they'll have the knowledge and tools to properly handle the effects of childhood trauma. This would raise the staff to student ratio, ensure social and emotional curriculum for grades K through 8, as well as improve the overall environment of the school. All public school students and educators benefit from this. Not only does this bill provide a safer environment for all students, but it adds a social education that leads to a more forgiving atmosphere for children affected by trauma and their resulting behavioral issues. So the bill has currently been referred to the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs, which is a fairly risky place to be. A lot of bills die in committee, but I actually have a lot of hope for this bill. Well, this bill is multifaceted, so it's made up of a few elements that would be really beneficial to our school systems. The first being this new training. In my experience, teachers are not prepared to deal with the many issues that affect a child who's been through a traumatic event. Trauma affects kids in many ways. They can have issues developing attachments or relationships. They can act out, disassociate, and suffer physical ailments. If those aren't valid reasons alone, the nation spends an average of $284 million a day on neglect and abuse-related issues. Our state could benefit economically from providing resources to students before these issues get worse and more costly. Educating teachers on the subject will also reduce the need for additional resources. Another portion of this bill addresses social and emotional education that Maine school curriculums desperately need. Emotional ignorance is a huge problem we face in today's society. Our lack of understanding people's differences and backgrounds is what I feel is the root of a lot of discrimination. Kids need to be taught empathy, integrity, and respect in order to make the educational environment better for everyone. I remember a child from my elementary school who had a multitude of behavioral issues and was alienated because of her outbursts and quirky style. It wasn't until years later that I learned about the abuses she suffered as a child, resulting in these issues. I know for a fact that if I had understood what makes people different, I would have treated her with the respect she deserved rather than participating in her isolation. This bill matters to me because I never want another child to suffer the way she did, in and out of suspension and pushed away from her peers. I really believe that this bill is a game changer for every single child, whether they've suffered trauma or not. Bills like this usually fail for a few reasons. The biggest one I see is the lack of information included in the bill about how we plan to fund this. In my research, I didn't see anything about allotting a certain amount of funding, and I predict that this aspect will be criticized in committee. However, this bill has so much potential. I strongly urge the committee to not give up on this bill. If you have to amend it or ask the sponsors to rewrite it, do so, but do not let it fail before it reaches the House and Senate.